There, you guys. Have you ever thought about taking a student intern? Well, I know I have, and you may have already done it, but before you do, I want you to hit pause on that because there are some things you need to know and consider before saying yes to that eager offer. My name is Adrienne Fuller. I am a speech language pathologist and private practice owner for the last 14, almost 14 years. And so I'm making this content because I wish I'd had it in my journey. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions about a student intern on both sides, right? As the supervisor sometimes and as a student intern, is that it's kind of like free work or free labor. I've actually heard student interns tell me that. And I ask them not to say that anymore. Because first, before you even consider it, I want to remind you that student interns actually are a bit of work and a little bit of stress if you're not careful because it's a new person you're introducing into your practice. So it's really important that you make sure they go through a training and they kind of understand where you're coming from. All right. Another thing to consider, and I just want to remind you, these are still students. And so, as well trained as they may be from their universities, there is still a bit or good amount of teaching that you're going to have to do with them. And so, here are some things I want you to consider as you are preparing to either say yes or no. And I want you to just remember it's okay if it's a no because it has to work for you and your practice. Okay. So the first thing, and you guys know me, I always have my notes. I'm a type A minus personality, but you do want to remember the liability risks. So you can be held liable for any injury or anything like that that would happen to that student. So it's really important that first you understand your own insurance policy. It's worth a quick email or phone call, or not so quick, to your insurance policy to see if student interns are covered. I would assume so, but you would be surprised at so many policies now that aren't covering student interns. So if it's a no, you can always ask the university, do you provide a liability coverage for your students? Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. Make sure you know the answer, okay? Number two is an affiliate agreement is a must. If you're working from for you like with a university, and there are a lot of online programs coming on the scene, which I love because that means that SLPs are beginning to be developed and trained, and that hopefully the shortage for speech language pathologists or therapists will go down, right? But the thing is, you need that signed affiliation agreement from the university just to outline who is responsible for what. It does help protect your practice, okay? And here's the thing that I often forget. Ask how many hours the student is asking for. And when I say student, the student in university, I've said yes a lot of times, and then only to find out later that they need 100 hours or 50 hours, or one time it was like this drastic situation in COVID where we needed over 100 hours in a summer. And so because you are a private practice owner, there's a good chance you're doing a lot of jobs at once. Slow down. Let me just say that slow down, but also ask important questions from that university before you say yes. One thing is, how many hours do they need, or do you require them to have in this internship? I always like to know where in their graduate journey are they? Is it their first internship? Is it their third or their fourth? That's really important to know. All right. Also, ask the university what other meetings that they require. There's a university in the Central Florida area, great program, but it requires a little bit more like meetings between the supervisor and the school because it was an online program. And so it's really important that you know that so that you can make yourself available and also not feel like it's dragging and getting all of your energy. Okay. The next thing is you're going to want to interview your interns. It's just like hiring. In fact, if you've never hired before, this is a really great practice step, right? You can ask great questions, but it's really important that you see if you can get along with that person, if your personalities match. If you don't think it's a match, don't say yes. I don't care if they're like, well, I won't get my hours. But a really bad experience with a student intern will really have a bad experience for that intern, but it also has a bad experience for you. And so if it's a no, make it a no in the beginning, as hard as that might be. Okay. And then also, when you're interviewing them, and if you say yes, then have a training. And it's just like an orientation you would have with a new therapist that you hire or a new employee that you or contractor that you contract their services. You want to give them the ins and outs of your practice, how you guys do things. Also, I highly recommend you establish some boundaries as far as absences with that intern. So if you're in an internship, in my opinion, you're in graduate school, so things like really long vacation or really long breaks, if that really long vacation or break doesn't work for you as the owner, I wouldn't do it. And so I have a rule. After 3 absences in your internship, we'll need to say goodbye because now we are like rerouting patients and we are rescheduling, and that is not what we want to do. Okay. So it's really important that you set some really good guidelines. Also, with paperwork, I need notes done at the end of the day. And if they're not done, again, we're on that. We tell what we want, we hold the boundary and reteach it. But if it's still not being held, then we need to reach out to the university and let them know. Okay. Well, I guess that's all I have for today. Now, I just want to remind you that interns can be a really beautiful part of this whole circle of practice that we have, right? We were once interns. Some of us had really good experiences and some of us didn't. So this could be a great opportunity for us to kind of redeem a really bad experience. But if you do it right, it can be a blessing for your practice. But if you don't do it right, it can really be uh, not, it could be a source of pain, and you don't want that, not in your practice that you built and you had the vision for. So follow me for more real talk, running about how to run a private practice without losing your mind, your margin, or your mission. If you like this and you think someone could benefit from it, please like and subscribe, but also share it with someone, right? That's the only way we get the word out. I really appreciate it. Until next time.